Good morning, Keith. Thank you very much for agreeing to talk to me this morning. So welcome to Keith Douglas, who is currently the president of Mastercard Payment Gateway Services. So Keith, tell us a little bit about what you've done before this role.
Before this role, I've actually spent mainly the last. First, should I say thank you very much for having me, inviting me on to Skype to have this discussion with you. So the role that I'm doing now that you've introduced, I've been doing for 2 years. Prior to that, I spent time both in Europe and in North America, working for Mastercard in what could be described as kind of general management, account management roles.
Right.
And I've done that for the best part of 10, 12 years. So very much client-facing, very much focused on the commercial aspects of our business, working with our clients to bring them solutions to solve multiple pain points in the payments arena. With this role in Gateway, I now look after our merchant clients, our acquiring clients on the acceptance side, helping them do and transact commerce online, which in this current environment is an important thing, as you can well imagine.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you've obviously been in a number of different leadership roles, and you've probably worked with some great leaders as well during your career to date. So what does great leadership look like to you?
That's a great question, and you're absolutely right. My leadership journey, and therefore, how I answer this question you pose, has very much been shaped and influenced by the people I have worked for. Either directly as my leaders or unit heads, or indeed, some of my peers who I've learned from over the last 20 odd years. So what does great leadership mean to me? I think it means a number of things. It means essentially for me that I have a duty and obligation with my team to enable them to perform in a way that maximizes their skills, their potential, their excitement, and their energy. It's my job to facilitate an environment that enables those individuals to shine, and clearly then corralling that in a way that drives the business unit objectives and deliverables. So first and foremost, as a leader, I'm there to help those in my team and those that my team work with deliver in a way that is impactful, inspiring, and certainly meets the needs, the solutions, of the pain points for whatever it is we're focused on.
Great. So what do you interpret by the term self-leadership, and how do you personally practice this?
I think self-leadership means a couple of things to me. Firstly, you've got to practice what you preach, and you've got to understand what you bring as a leader to a team or to an environment. You play a role not just as the leader of that team, but you are a contributor, you are a motivator, you are a participant in all manner of things. And hence, for me, self-leadership is about understanding and recognizing that and finding a way to ensure that you play that role in addition to clearly leading the broader team that you have responsibility for. Mm-hmm. So specifically what that means, it means three things to me, or at least over the last 20 years of my career leading teams, I've kind of reflected and changed and adapted and clearly learned, as we talked about earlier, from others. So for me, it's about understanding what my edge is. And by edge, I mean, what is it that I bring to the table? What is it that I'm particularly good at? What is it that I really enjoy? And being able to harness that in the context of the team. So, that edge then helps me define my guiding principles as a leader. Now, whether that's through the lens of myself or the wider team, self-leadership or the wider team. And, I've kind of fine-tuned what those guiding principles for me. And those guiding principles are what people can expect from me, what people can anticipate when they interact with me. And consequently, I hope in doing so, they can bring the best out of me and help me demonstrate to them what I can do, to help them drive their particular project business forward. And I have, 6 or 7 of those guiding principles. They're very straightforward. One, for example, and again, I don't think they're rocket science or indeed would be unfamiliar to some of your your clients or indeed your viewers. And one of those is being present. So when I'm in a meeting, being engaged, whether I've set the meeting up or I'm a participant, being there to contribute in the best way that I can. And that's one of my guiding principles, for example. But those guiding principles kind of have helped me kind of define what my manifesto as a leader. Now, I'm not getting all political here, but essentially, what I want from a team, and clearly, how I can contribute to that team, as well as help members of that team get better. And one of those kind of my manifesto has 6 or 7 points. They're like my guiding principles, and one of those is everyone gets an A. So by that I mean, as we start into a performance year or into a project or into a discussion, I'm assuming that the individual that I'm working with in my team can do their job and do it bloody well. And consequently, my role is not to get in the way of that, but actually help ensure that they can get, as we would use in A-level terms, the A plus in terms of their performance. So those 3 things, knowing my edge, defining my kind of guiding principles by which I operate, and turning them into how I lead and how I lead a team, are really core aspects of my self-leadership, and obviously how that plays out into a work team.
Great. So what signs of leadership do you look for from staff within your business? So you said about, you assume that they can do their jobs and do it bloody well. But again, what other skills or what other strengths are you looking for in able to, for promotion or for advancement in your business?
Yeah, I think, again, another great question, and certainly a very wide-ranging question. I guess, for me, there are things that I look for in individuals. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they get promoted, or doesn't necessarily mean they're better placed to be promoted, back to your question. But for me, kind of highlights key qualities that I look for in individuals. And frankly, I look for it because I've seen it in the past, and I've seen it, how successful those individuals can be. Whether as part of teams that I've been a member of, or indeed leading teams. So, for me, what does that mean? I think I'm looking for somebody who demonstrates, and these wouldn't be classic competencies as my HR function would describe it, but certainly attributes or skills that drive competency. I'm looking for people who are decisive. And by that I don't mean is they're willing to make a decision, but they recognize when they need to make a decision or a recommendation. I'm looking for people who are willing to share and share information, share knowledge, share best practice, because sharing for me drives an individual's ability to empower others. And empowerment is what it's about as a leader, making sure others are equipped and feel confident and are learning from doing their role. I'm looking for people to take risk, but to take sensible risk. And that is, don't be caught out by the pros and the cons, but try and make a decision based on the balance of the information in front of you. And you won't always get it right. I'm looking for people who are curious, so will go beyond the obvious question, go beyond their remit from time to time to build out that better answer, that better solution, that more informed decision. And they're kind of qualities I look for in people. And over the 20 odd or so years that I've been in the workforce, I see continually in people who have an ability to get on and an ability to advance their career. Great.
Yeah, some great competencies and skills there. So I see that.
Yeah.
So obviously we're going through a lot of change at the moment. We're working in ways that we probably never imagined even just a few short months ago. But we're probably not through this period of change quite yet. So what changes do you anticipate in our working practices over the current, the 12 months or beyond?
Yeah, a good question. And certainly, I'll be the first to say that in the kind of 10 weeks or so that I've been working from home, I've learned quite a bit about my team and quite a bit about myself, and that wouldn't be a surprise to you or to any of your clients, because I think we've all had that experience in some way, shape, or form, whether it's through a work lens, through a personal lens, or as we all are conscious of, getting that balance between work and personal in terms of our lives. So, for the first time in a long time, I think it's 13 weeks now and counting, I haven't been on a plane, and that's been a nice experience in one sense. But yeah, so what is it? What have I got out of that? I've got out a few things. One is the importance of teams and breaking down silos. And this environment where we've had to work from home has really forced us as a team to connect and operate, not so much in different ways, but in a consistent way through phone. You don't have the body language when you're on a call, whether it's with a client or with a partner or a member of staff. But how we are now collaborating as a team using tools like Microsoft Teams, using Skype, using other platforms and other techniques to help each other drive our business has demonstrated a couple of things to me. One is, never underestimate the power of the individual. And secondly, you do not have to, you don't have to manage in an overbearing way. People, when given direction and when trusted through empowerment, will drive. I think the other kind of big lesson for me is, and it's kind of tied to the first, is trust. Trusting your team to do what it is they're expected to do. And of course, in this work from home environment, that's critically important because you're not physically in front of them. You're not physically checking in. You're checking in less frequently than you would ordinarily do in an office. Giving that space, showing that trust. And even though the temptation is, as a leader, to lean in and help them, given the circumstances of the environment and maybe the challenges they're having at home, trust them. And if you trust them in an appropriate way, they'll trust you and they'll flag to you as and when they need input or they need help. So they're kind of two big learning points for me. I think the last one I kind of mentioned is less of a learning point, but certainly I now realize that being in the office is not the be-all and end-all. You can successfully drive a business. However, human interaction, human contact, over and above, video like we're doing today is important. So an ability to check in on that basis on a regular basis is an important thing, and certainly shouldn't be ignored, notwithstanding, how certainly my team have, I think, fairly successfully navigated the last 10 to 12 weeks.
And as we're going to be coming through this kind of out the other side, how are you going to be managing yourself and leading others as well?
Yeah, I would say how am I starting to manage myself has already changed, or certainly have already adapted to the environment we're in. Back to what I said earlier, ensuring that I continue to push empowerment and give a feeling of trust to the team. But for me, just given later, I spent a lot of my time on airplanes, visiting other members of the team in different countries, visiting clients in different countries, and visiting partners so that we can get things done. And that is an important part of my role. But not being able to travel has made me sit back and think about how I use my time. And certainly, in a world going forward where we are not as restricted in the way that we are now, how I best maximize that time. Because I've had a lot of time to reflect not only on my ability and style as a leader, but actually think more deeply and more strategically about this business than perhaps I certainly have in the past, given I'm jumping from a plane and into an office. And so that's kind of one aspect, getting that balance right between thinking and doing. And I've certainly got more balance on the thinking now, or a greater balance towards the thinking now than I did before. And that's, for me as a leader, that's an important part of my role. I think the other thing that I've certainly appreciated in this environment, and this is in respect of me as a leader of the team, but also personally, is making my weekends feel different than my week, and And obviously, I'm sitting in the same place Monday through Sunday, albeit I spend a lot more time Monday to Friday in this home office, less so on the weekend. But making sure I spend time with others, making sure, and I'm talking principally about my family here, but also making sure that I switch off, so therefore my team can switch off. Now, I'm not telling my team what to do, but I know my team respond to a lot of my emails. So, I'm not going to, over this last 10 weeks, I think there's a handful of occasions where I've sent an email. And that's basically because it's critical, because as you probably are aware of the gateway business, we're an operating platform, but, respecting that. So there are two ways. Get the right balance between thinking and doing, and making sure that I don't drive behaviors of my team that are unhelpful or inconsiderate.
Yeah. Okay. So balance on both sides then. Yeah. Yeah. Great. So finally, then, what skills do you perceive will be, important in the coming, months, years ahead to kind of see us safely through this period, and whether it's your own skills or skills that you think will be useful in your business or within your team members?
Yeah, I think, collaboration is a hugely important skill, whether in a physical or a non-physical environment. But, I think our ability to collaborate has been tested in this kind of working from home environment, principally, in my organization, because we're using voice rather than necessarily video like we are today. And where I have had the opportunity to use video, I certainly can see and understand the benefits of it to kind of drive, motivate, and inspire others to do things. So for me, being present physically is important, but using channels like video do help. But I think that the collaboration piece is important insofar as even when you don't necessarily see the individual or the group that you're talking to, we all know about body language and we all know about voice, and the skills to kind of unpick, does that person, what they're saying, do they really mean when you've only got that basis of collaboration or discussion is certainly a talent, and I certainly try to fine tune some of my questions so that I can better understand how the individual is feeling and thinking, not just relying on what they are saying.
Yeah.
So that's one aspect. I think the other aspect for me is tools like Microsoft Teams. And sorry to plug a particular brand, that's the one we happen to use in Mastercard. Are brilliant, are excellent, and shame on me for not really embracing that kind of technology that has existed for a long time before, but for me it is really helpful. I can quickly go on to the app or onto the website, look at a team, and get the information I need rather than bothering an individual with an email or calling them. And I think getting comfortable with tools like that is hugely important in terms of how we work going forward, and certainly this last 10 weeks has given me not only exposure but a degree of comfort and a degree of reassurance that that you can manage your business and your people in a variety of different ways.
Great. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me this morning. I've really enjoyed having this conversation and hearing your insights. So thanks, Keith.
My pleasure, Melanie. Thank you for having me.